And welcome back. Foreign Agents Registry. Too little, too late? The government is reportedly looking at tabling a bill to implement a registry that would follow in the steps of the U.S. and Australia. There's no set timeline on when that registry could be implemented, and more questions than answers remain about foreign election interference, particularly surrounding how key intelligence is or is not shared. So would a foreign registry act as a strong enough deterrent to prevent foreign election interference? And does CSIS need to share more information with politicians? Let's bring in the MPs. Joining me now are Liberal Member of Parliament Tlaib Noor Mohammed, Conservative House Leader Andrew Scheer, and NDP House Leader Peter Julian. Good afternoon. Thank you to the three of you for being there. You know, Foreign Agents Registry, the government says it may table a bill before the end of this session or maybe in the fall. So let me go to you, Tlaib Noor Mohammed. U.S. and Australia have such a registry. What's the hesitation here? And can you give us more detail of when this bill could be tabled?
First of all, I think it's important to take a step back and answer the question, what are we trying to do here? What we're trying to do is to make sure that we are able to create a registry, but that we do it in a way that does not have a negative impact on the diverse communities in this country. And so the consultation process that we've undertaken, which is now over, the feedback from that consultation process is going to inform the how around this. And so it's important that we do this and we do this quickly, but the objective is to do this right. Rushing into this can have really profound unintended consequences on Canadians, and so doing it correctly and making sure that we have done the consultations, making sure those consultations are factored into the way in which the registry is structured, that's going to be critically important. That's the work we're going to take. We're going to do it right, but we're also not, nobody is dragging their feet. Quite the opposite. We're moving very quickly, but we're going to do it in a way that makes sense and that Canadians see themselves reflected in.
Well, the consultation, Peter Julian, has already taken place. My understanding is Jenny Kwan told CTV this week that CSIS reached out to her as well. So she's an MP from your party, what can you tell us about that?
Well, I think what is clear is that the government hasn't been forthcoming or transparent with the members of Parliament that may have been targeted. And this is something that is a deep concern to us, right? All the way along, we've seen this government saying there's no problem, we're taking action, and then there are new revelations that show that they haven't been providing the protection that's important and the transparency that's important.
Worse yet, they're saying they didn't know about it.
Well, and that is part of why we believe so strongly. Jagmeet Singh and the NDP caucus have been pushing for a public inquiry. We brought that through the House. The special rapporteur has to report in the next week or so. There's been a very clear House vote on this. The House of Commons voted, MPs for all parties, all the independents except for the Liberals voted in favour of this, and we really need to move to a public inquiry to get the answers that Canadians are asking for.
So Andrew Scheer, so how concerning is this to you? I'm sure quite concerning. Two MPs now may have been targeted of Chinese interference. Do you think a foreign agent registry would be a good deterrent?
Well, absolutely. It's part of what's needed. It's not just concerning for MPs. It should be concerning for all Canadians, because if our elected members of Parliament are being threatened or harassed because of votes they take in the House of Commons, that undermines the very foundation of our democratic institutions. It's also very concerning for people of Chinese background in diaspora communities who come to Canada to escape the oppression of the communist regime in Beijing and find themselves be in positions where their own families and friends may be harassed and targeted back home as well. You know, for the Liberals to say that they're not dragging their feet is just ridiculous. I mean, their own officials, their own security officials called on them to bring in a registry last year. They've been doing nothing about it. And, you know, some of their excuses about the institutions they've set up, they're not using it. They're being warned by CSIS that operatives from the regime in Beijing are harassing Chinese Canadians, are organizing intimidation campaigns for families of members of Parliament, and they're doing nothing about it. They've known about this now, we find out today. They've known about this one particular operative out of Toronto. They've known about it for 3 years. and they only took action when they got caught. That is so emblematic of this Liberal government. They don't act on this. Canada has been described by the government in Beijing as an easy mark. And one of the reasons that has been cited is because we don't have a registry. And when Justin Trudeau was pushed on this a few months ago, his reaction was to insult the reporter that asked the question and called him a racist. So this is the type of ridiculous non-action and accusations that the Liberals are making, and I believe Canadians have had enough.
When you were in power, I just want to ask you this. Was this ever raised, or does this begin in 2016 or 2015?
Well, the reports that I've read and the public reporting on this has indicated that this really started in advance of the 2019 and 2021 elections when Justin Trudeau was in power. I can assure you that if the previous Conservative government had received information that an operative from Beijing was harassing members of Parliament's families, that action would have been taken. It would not have taken 3 years to expel someone who was doing that. It would not have taken, these reports would not have been sat on. Action would absolutely have been taken. Remember, the regime in Beijing itself has said that they prefer a Liberal government led by Justin Trudeau. We know Trudeau admires the basic dictatorship in Beijing. We know he's heaped praise on other communist leaders like Fidel Castro, and precisely because they haven't taken action to strengthen our response and because they've sat on information and not acted on it, the regime in Beijing describes this government as an easy mark.
Okay, Peter Julian, I'm not sure how much admiration Mr. Trudeau has. I haven't asked him that question, but beyond the registry,
well, he said it himself.
Had information on the Chinese diplomat Zhao Wei, who operated in Canada for years and who's now been expelled. So should MPs, I'm wondering about the information that CSIS has, right? You are MPs, some of you have clearance, have security clearance. So should you be regularly updated by CSIS? Should there be, sort of regular contact with our spy agencies? Because they seem to have information that goes nowhere except leaked to the media.
And this is a major problem. If there are MPs that have been targeted, those MPs need to know. And the government has not been transparent about whether or not those MPs have even been briefed. And the issue is very concerning when you see diplomats that have been involved, and the government's been aware for years and no action's been taken. The reason why we're pushing for public inquiry is not just because of the Chinese foreign interference, because that is deeply disturbing. We've seen Russian foreign interference as well. Certainly that was part of the convoy takeover that caused such misery in downtown Ottawa. And so this shouldn't be a partisan issue where Liberals say, well, this is one type of interference the Conservatives are soft on, and the Conservatives point the finger back and say, well, Liberals are soft on this type of foreign interference. We need to look, and this is where Jagmeet Singh is the adult in the room yet again, to say we need to look at all forms of foreign interference and make sure we're putting every measure in place. So whether it's Chinese interference or Russian interference or that from any other country, that we have a bulwark against for our democracy against foreign interference that ensures that no MP is going to have any sort of pressure brought to bear on them.
Okay. Well, Talib Nur Mohammed, I want to ask you this and respond to what Andrew Scheer said. Is Justin Trudeau too soft on the regime in Beijing? Is that why Canada is such a great target, and why there are so many Chinese diplomats in Canada, more so than other missions? So are you a soft target? Is your government a soft target?
Well, first of all, we'll take no lessons from Andrew Scheer and a government that and a Conservative government that did absolutely nothing on this issue of any type of foreign interference. So we know that there have been attempts at foreign interference in this country long before the Liberals took power. So we will take no lessons from Andrew Scheer and the Conservatives, who did quite literally nothing at all in 8 years to deal with foreign interference. Since we were elected, we have taken significant steps to deal with threats as they have emerged, and in an environment where threats change, so too must the response. whether it's setting up the NSICOP, the Committee of Parliamentarians who are security cleared to look into these matters, whether it's setting up NSIRA, National Security Intelligence Review Agency of experts who are nonpartisan to provide advice on national security matters, the committee that has been set up of public servants who are nonpartisan, again, who would have alerted all parties had there been a threat to the outcome of an election. And, of course, now the appointment of the special rapporteur, whose report is coming out on the 23rd of May. These are all incremental steps that were taken by our government in response to threats as they evolve. And we have the report of Mr. Johnson coming out on the 23rd, and we have committed to accepting all of those recommendations. So Canadians should feel confident that while we all should be concerned about preserving and protecting our democracy, that Canadians should feel confident that our government has taken steps, unprecedented steps, to protect and preserve our democracy and to ensure that Canadians and Canadians only are the ones who elect our governments. And I do want to point out one thing. It is also important that we stop politicizing this issue. An attempt on one MP is an attack on all of us. We all serve. We all do this because we care about this country deeply, and our families and us should not be targets. And we are going to have to work together to make sure that all of us know that we are safe in doing these jobs. And that's why our government has taken the steps that it has. And that's why the Prime Minister took the unprecedented step this week of informing our national security that if there are any such interventions that involve members of Parliament, that he should be notified. And so I think we can credibly say that the steps that we are taking and continue to take are not just responsive, but proactive in the face of threats that may emerge.